Okay, most of the things that I will be discussing are from the video itself, the video's demo itself. So I'll be also sharing this link, which you can easily get once you know the name. I know that, but then still, as a formality, since I'm taking content from this site, I'll also share this to you in the chat window. Okay, so this is the link of this YouTube video which I was showing you right till now. You need not have that video with you, because exactly what we did what we are doing right now are the steps from the video itself. Okay, now what exactly is that what we are going to do? I'll explain you through. I hope now my entire screen is visible. Can anybody just tell me whether my entire screen is visible or not?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Should I start this? Okay. Give me a second. I'll just explain you what exactly is going to be there in the demo, and we'll start it in a flash. Okay. Things are not visible. Here is a critical thing. Cancel. Okay. Not able to use two things simultaneously. Close this off. Okay. So what we are going to have in our demo is. Sorry. It's crazy. Okay. It's better now. It has opened. So in this demo, what we have is we are going to have a GitHub repository in which we are going to store code for. So this is a GitHub repository. Use squares directly. So I'll be using a GitHub repo. Okay, in this GitHub repo, I'm going to store source code for a web application. I'm considering that this GitHub repository is going to be having the source code of a web application. Now, what is GitHub? Probably some of you might know, and some of you might, for them, this might be the first time you're hearing about GitHub. But previously, we talked about what is Git. Okay, so Git is the version control system which maintains the version of any document that is submitted to it in a host machine. That is what we have seen. Now, GitHub is the distributed version of it. Now, GitHub is a centrally stored repository of various softwares by various people, multiple softwares by multiple peoples. That is what you can think of. So the whatever things Git was doing on a single host machine, you can think of GitHub is doing at a level of an organization scale, where there are multiple users putting in their code of different applications into different repositories, and all repositories are maintained in a version control fashion. That is, all the versions of every software is maintained, and all the user access is properly managed. So GitHub is, you can consider it to be a distributed, centralized version control system. So it's a, you can have GitHub set up for your organization. We can have a code of all our projects in our college that the student develop as part of mini project. We can have a host server, central server, where all these codes are deposited or reposited, as it is referred to as, and I can have a version control system running on top of it. That will be my private Git repository. Okay, whereas this GitHub is a professionally managed, community driven website. So for us, we can consider that it is nothing more than a website. So it is a website called as github. I guess com. I don't remember, is it com or org? It's com, github.com. So it's nothing but this website, github.com for us. And what we have over there, we have multiple users having their multiple repositories maintained as if they are maintained by a Git version control system. So at internally, the GitHub itself runs Git on top of every repository that it has. Plus, it has a lot of other extra features where it has its own way of providing continuous delivery, providing continuous integration, providing other facilities as well. But for now, for the sake of this particular explanation, sake of this particular demo, what we are going to consider is we are going to only consider GitHub to be a place on the web where I have my code present as a repository, which is maintained in a version control fashion. Okay, so you can see over here my my own user logged in. So I have actually created this user as PROFANUP on the GitHub, and these are few repositories that this particular user has created. So these are my own repositories, and out of that, this particular repository, which is AWS Code Pipeline S3 Code Deploy dash Linux, is what actually we are going to use. So this is one simple web application. Okay, this is a very simple web application source code. So this is the entire source code. Just like when we I showed you Friday, we can create a repository on a host machine. Similarly, this is only created on the centralized machine. That is what is the difference. So this particular folder that we otherwise would have, so this is the AWS Code Pipeline S3 Code Deploy dash Linux. You can consider this as one folder, which is my source code folder, and there are subfolders inside it. And inside that, instead of .git file, now I have this .github file, because now the repository that is responsible for doing version control is not Git anymore, it is GitHub. The software name changes, but the role and the fashion in which it does the functioning remains much more on the similar lines. Okay, so now going back to the discussion, what we are going to do, we are going to learn the continuous integration, continuous delivery, CI/CD portion of DevOps through the understanding of how this is achieved in the AWS cloud using various AWS services. So we have this particular GitHub repository. We will be trying to connect it to an AWS service, which is called as code pipeline. So I'll be just, again, I forgot to use the text box. I'll be using code pipeline service. Okay, so this code pipeline will be responsible for doing the integration as well as the delivery, CI/CD portion. Out of that, in today's experiment, we are only talking about the CD portion, because this is a web application. You know that there is no need of building this application. There is nothing like build, no requirement of any build tools. But when we have a Java application, a Python application, or maybe a rather a C++ kind of high-level programming language application, we also require a build stage where the source code needs to be built as well before it can be converted to an executable footprint. And then that executable footprint can be taken to your staging area and given out to the world as a particular web service. Okay. Now, this code pipeline is going to give output to a tool, give output through, that is deployment, to do deployment through. It is going to do deployment through a service called as Elastic Beanstalk. Okay. Now, this service, Elastic Beanstalk, is actually a service of one of the Amazon Web Services service that is responsible for automating the process of deployment of any web or any other kind of application. So Elastic Beanstalk actually provisions the deployment configurations as per the need of the application. So if you have an executable application with you and you take it to Elastic Beanstalk service, Elastic Beanstalk service will ask you certain questions regarding what kind of platform you require, what kind of operating system you require, etc., etc. And based on that, it will automatically provision a EC2 instance for you. It will configure that instance so that your deployment code can actually deployed on that machine. It can be a single machine, by the way. My deployment candidate could be set of different machines as well, multiple machines as well, and it all depends on what I want to deploy. This application, for this particular demo application, our web service will be hosted on a single web server. So what Beanstalk is going to give us is, it is going to give us a EC2 instance on which it will have a web server running, which I guess in this case they are using Ngix server, Ngix server. It's a web server like Apache web server, like any other web server, like Tomcat that you might know if you have done some Java projects. So Ngix is one of the web server. That is a popular web server, again an open source web server. This Nginx server is going to be hosted on our EC2 instance, and then our source code will be transferred to the requisite place so that it is hosted on the website. So it will give us a web address. Now it won't give us a domain name, but it will give us a endpoint. I can access my web application at that endpoint. Just like on a host machine, अगर आप वेबसाइट डेवलप करते हो तो आप लोकल होस्ट कोलन स्लैश स्लैश से एक्सेस कर सकते हो अगर आपके लोकल होस्ट पे वेब सर्वर इंस्टेंशिएटेड है. वैसे ही यहाँ पे आपको एक पब्लिक और प्राइवेट आईपी एड्रेस मिलेगा यूजिंग विच यू कैन एक्सेस योर एप्लीकेशन ऑन दैट particular server. So Elastic Beanstalk actually provides you this service. Besides this, it also maintains the elasticity. That is, if I have a lot of requests coming my way on my application and it starts increasing in amount of resources required, the Elastic Beanstalk also has a provision to scale up and scale down as per the user requirement or as per the application requirement, which is generally is not possible when you use a स्टैटिक होस्टिंग वेबसाइट. अगर आप होस्टिंग कर रहे हो, आपके वेबसाइट का होस्टिंग कर रहे हो किसी होस्ट वेबसाइट पे, होस्ट कॉन्फ़िगरेशन पे, तो आपका कॉन्फ़िगरेशन फिक्स रहता है. यू कैन ओवर प्रोविजन और यू कैन अंडर प्रोविजन द रिसोर्सेस. सो आई मे थिंक दैट मुझे बहुत सारे रिक्वेस्ट आएंगे और मैं 4 GB 5 GB का स्पेस यूज लगेगा, मुझे प्राइमरी मेमोरी लगेगा, तो मैं उस तरीके का मशीन अडॉप्ट कर लेता हूँ एज माई सर्वर. But later on I may find that okay, इतना ज़्यादा रिक्वेस्ट आता ही नहीं है मेरे वेबसाइट पे, and then it is just the wastage of memory, and memory costs me. So to maintain a memory on a web host site, it costs me. Okay. On the other hand, if I underestimate the amount of traffic that is targeted to my website, then what will happen is I will be provisioning less, so that I will be expending less, लेकिन मेरे यूजर्स को अच्छा इफेक्ट नहीं मिलेगा क्योंकि मेरा वेबसाइट क्रैश होने के चांसेस ज्यादा है, because it will run through all the memory that is required soon enough. Okay, so that is managed automatically in Elastic Beanstalk, and that's why the word elastic used over there. Okay, so in our demo we are going to talk about code pipeline whose endpoint will be taking our deployment candidate, that is the source code, into the Elastic Beanstalk, and that will be done through the code pipeline. So we'll be maintaining internally, this code pipeline will maintain everything internally into S3 bucket. Okay, in this demo we are not going to use the, so we'll be using code commit, definitely the code commit service that they were talking about. The code commit service for us, or I should call it as CC, it will bring this repository whenever a change is made and I check out the GitHub repository. So checkout is a functionality in Git that allows you to reflect a change in the repository that is committed. Okay, so once I check out a repository, I commit a certain change to the repository, then those changes will drive an event that the code commit will pull the changes into the S3 bucket. So it will pull this code into S3 bucket. Okay, since we do not have a deployment, build stage, code pipeline's next stage would actually be that we are using is code build. We'll be using code, we'll be skipping code build. and code deploy phase would start, and code deploy will take this S3 bucket staging version and it will send it through to the Elastic Beanstalk. Based on what code comes to the Elastic Beanstalk, it will provision the resources accordingly into different web services, and then your application is deployed. So you'll be getting your website hosted. So right from the source code up to hosting of website is what we are going to look at, and how simple it is, that is what we are going to realize using the AWS cloud service. So I hope I have given you a bit of idea about what exactly we are going to follow. So just to begin, we will go to the Amazon Web Console, AWS console, sorry, AWS Management Console as usual, and we will be selecting Elastic Beanstalk. So I had already accessed the Elastic Beanstalk service. That's why it is available here. But if it is not available, you should go to all services, see the development services. We know that it is related to developers tool. Okay, it's a developer tool. I can see that code commit is here, code build is here, code deploy is here, and code pipeline is here. Along with that, there will be, okay, Elastic Beanstalk is not developer service. Okay, definitely it's not developer. It's up on the other end of the spectrum. It's my mistake to say that it is part of development tool. But code commit, code build, code deploy, and code pipeline along with Cloud9, they're part of my developer tools. Where is exactly this? Let me just search for it. Beanstalk. Okay, Elastic Beanstalk is part of the compute service. Okay, Elastic Beanstalk is part of the compute service. So we will be going to that service whether by clicking here, or whether by clicking here, or whether by searching it over here. Same thing that we did last week. So which is the user using which I have logged in? I've logged in as my administrator user. You already know that I have created a free tier account and I've created an IAM role, identity access management role, called as administrator, who has administrative access over all my Amazon Web Services. Okay, so this user has access to all the Amazon Web Services, including Elastic Beanstalk, including code pipeline, including the services that we are going to use today. So I'll be jumping out to the Elastic Beanstalk service. Let me click on that. So since I have established multiple environments earlier, I already have one installed environment जो अभी हमको use नहीं करना. So I'll just go to Elastic Beanstalk landing page. So when you are actually clicking Elastic Beanstalk for first time, Amazon Elastic Beanstalk for the first time, you'll be landing on this page. Okay, you'll be landing on this page. You will be having this kind of interface. ये अमेजोन के इंटरफेस में ये जो लेफ्ट का ड्रावर है, उसमें बहुत सारी चीजें रहती है एक सर्विसेज की. अगर हम लोग सर्विस के लैंडिंग पेज पे है तो हर एक लैंडिंग पेज पे आपको डॉक्यूमेंटेशन के बहुत सारे इंफॉर्मेटिव suggestions and other things will be available. You can explore that on your own when you get time. Okay, since we are short in time duration, I'll be just picking up the things that are important. Now, how is the pricing? There is no additional charge for Elastic Beanstalk use करने के लिए, यानी ये सर्विस जो है डिप्लॉयमेंट कैंडिडेट कॉन्फ़िगर करने का सर्विस है. ओके, उसके लिए एडिशनल चार्जेस नहीं लगते. You pay for Amazon Web Services resources that we create to store and run your web application. आपका वेब एप्लीकेशन स्टोर करने के लिए अगर मैं कुछ डेटाबेस जनरेट करता हूँ, S3 बकेट जनरेट करता हूँ, अगर मैं EC2 इंस्टेंस जनरेट करता हूँ, तो उनका जो चार्ज होगा वो आपको पे करना पड़ेगा. एंड यू नो दैट EC2 instances as well as the S3 buckets, there are certain S3 buckets as well as the EC2 instances which are coming under the free tier, so you need not worry about the pricing as such. Okay, तो Beanstalk जो auto deploy करता है आपका web application, so it says that it is an end-to-end web application management. So it is something like you have your web application ready on your host, you can get that web application, put it in the Amazon Elastic Beanstalk without considering the rest of the thing that we are going to discuss, and still your web application will be hosted. You'll get a website address that you can use and show see how your website looks like when it is hosted. So it's a good candidate to use. The Elastic Beanstalk tool is a good candidate to use when you are developing a website and you don't want other things, but you want to test your website, how it looks to the world. Okay, so it gives you a public endpoint जहाँ पे आपका वेबसाइट होस्टेड है और दूसरे लोग आपका वेबसाइट को एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. So we'll just look at how to go about create an application. So you start by creating an application. So get started में यही ये जो बटन है that will be clicking. It's a very easy walkthrough. Wizard है, आप step by step में चीजें लिखते जाते हो and then you decide and select certain aspects of your deployment candidate. तो ये web application create करने के लिए है Elastic Beanstalk. So I'll be saying that what could be my application name. I would give it a name as demo app. Okay. I'll be giving it a name demo app. As every other Amazon web service, you can give it some tag in order that later on when you have a lot of things with you, you can understand it. Otherwise you don't write anything over here. So it's a tag and value. I can say demo app, and I can, for my remembrance, say that demo I gave on today's date is 6th September. This is my reference. So this value is for me to understand what this is. It could be anything basically. Okay, so this is a tag that I've added. I need not click on add tag, sorry. I'll just remove it. Okay. So this is the key value pair, demo app. What is demo app? It is a app that I gave as a demo. Now this is important, platform. So which platform I developed this website for, that I need to select. So it could be a .NET Core on Linux, .NET on Windows Server, Docker, Glassfish, Go. So Glassfish is generally, I guess, web development for Java. Okay, Node.js, PHP. So currently I require a Linux server for this particular web app demo to run on. So I'll use PHP because PHP is a server-side scripting language. Automatically, a Linux instance with a web server would be hosted for me, and that's why I'm using PHP. So I'm selecting PHP platform. It gives me different versions of PHP to select from. I'll use the latest version with Amazon's Linux version and not the Ubuntu or any other Linux variant. Okay, and this is the platform version that you'll be using. So we'll keep that as a default. Now, when I'm using the Elastic Beanstalk, I can either choose from an sample application, or if, say, suppose you are doing a project, you have a website host on your physical device and you want to upload your code. So you can put your code into a zip version, or maybe you host it on a Git website and you can pull it directly over here as well. Okay. So what is difference between pulling it directly here and using the code pipeline? We'll talk about it after we complete this demo. Okay. Currently, we'll say that we want a sample application. Just we want to configure the deployment configuration. इसलिए हम लोग यहाँ पे sample application choose कर रहे हैं. Okay. मेरे पास code है, लेकिन वो code मेरा GitHub पे है, and I want to use the continuous integration, continuous delivery, DevOps suite of AWS. Hence, I'm not providing the code directly here. I'll be actually connecting this endpoint, deployment endpoint, to my code pipeline. Okay. So we'll just click on create application. As this application gets created, it will take around 4 to 5 minutes. I tested this for a default Linux distribution. It actually creates two things. EC2 instance it creates S3 storage. You are seeing over here some log messages. 5.7 it started creating the environment. Okay, it is using Elastic Beanstalk US East Coast 1. So I forgot to tell you, we are using this particular US East Coast 1 region, and I told you last week only why we are choosing it. Most of the Amazon services are available in this region. Some of the services are not available in some region. That's why we are using this region. Okay. Now it will take some time, and all these log messages will log what all things are going around. Now, when we are actually having this running in background, we will jump to the other web services, other things related to our code pipeline. So I'll go back to the services and I'll select the code pipeline service. Okay, in this tab, we are keeping this executing. It will take 4 to 5 minutes for that application to be ready for me.